Hola, Rocky here from SpeakSpanishFaster.com, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to introduce yourself in Spanish, cómo presentarte en español. Let's get right to it. Okay, so introducing yourself in Spanish is very, very important. Obviously, we all know that any language you are trying to learn, being able to introduce yourself is very important because that is probably the most common situation that is going to happen to you. You're not always going to get into these deep conversations with people, but no matter which country you go to, no matter where you're at, you are going to have to be able to at least meet and greet with those people. So today I want to show you a few different ways that you can do it. So that way you can be a little versatile with your greetings. So you're not always just saying the same thing. All right. So the first thing is what I like to call breaking the ice, the kind of words that break the ice. Now I started this video with hola. That's one way. Hi. We all know hi. And that's the most basic way. And I would say if you're just getting started, to start with just start with the basics. Hola. You could break the ice with anybody by saying hola. All right. So hola. Now there are other ways, other words you could use, and the primary words I would use for other than hola would be either buenos dias. Buenos dias. Buenos dias means good morning. Buenas tardes, that means good afternoon. Buenas noches, that means good night. So, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Those three, good morning, good afternoon, good night. Now, one key to remember with buenas noches, even though it's good night in Spanish, it's not always used how it is in English. In English, when we say good night, it really means to go to sleep. You tell somebody good night. If we see somebody at nighttime, we don't say, hey, good night, how you doing? But in Spanish, you do. You use it just how you would use good morning. So in Spanish, you could say, hola, buenos días, ¿cómo estás? Hola, buenas noches, ¿cómo estás? So buenas noches is still used as a greeting and not just for, oh, you're going to sleep, buenas noches, or good night. They actually say, like, have a good night. We say it differently in Spanish than in English. We just say good night. So just remember that. If somebody says buenas noches to you at nighttime, they're not telling you like good night, go to sleep. It's just a greeting for good night. So those are kind of the four ice-breaking words I would learn right now. Hola, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Those are the main ones you need to learn. Now, once you break the ice, the next thing is to introduce yourself with your name. Okay? Now, of course, you won't have to tell if you're just seeing a store clerk, or you just walk into a store and they say, buenas tardes or something, you don't have to say, hey, my name is that. You could just use an ice-breaking word to reply to them. And also, that will leave me with another thing, because this happens a lot. When you walk into a store or something, a lot of times they won't even say buenas tardes or buenas noches. They'll just say buenas. So when you walk in and say buenas, ¿cómo estás? So when they say buenas, just know that they really mean like good afternoon or good evening when they are saying that. So that's another way you can do it. You can just say buenas, ¿cómo estás? Or something. All right. So now let's get into kind of actually introducing yourself with your name. Now there are really three ways to say your name in Spanish. There might be more, but these are the three main ways. Now, the number one way that I'm sure you've probably heard is me llamo. So, me llamo Rocky. Me llamo, insert your name. Now, the direct Spanish translation to that, because the verb llamar is to call. So, when you say llamarse, that's to call oneself. So, when you say me llamo, it's I call myself your name. But that's the most common way to say my name in Spanish. My name is Rocky. Me llamo Rocky. All right. So me llamo, insert your name. It's not me llamo es, because you're not saying me llamo isn't really saying my name is the direct translation. It's saying I call myself. So you wouldn't say I call myself is Rocky. So it's just me llamo Rocky. It's not me llamo es Rocky. Okay. Now, the exact translation to my name would be mi nombre es Rocky. So that's the second way to say it. So we have me llamo, your name, or mi nombre es. And then you say your name. So that's a direct translation, mi nombre es. Now I would start with just saying me llamo because a lot of people will say, ¿Cómo te llamas? So when people ask you your name, they will say, ¿Cómo te llamas? Or when you reply to somebody, you could say, Hola, me llamo so-and-so. ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? And if they say, ¿Cómo te llamas? It's easier and best to just say, me llamo. So they will say, what do you call yourself? ¿Cómo te llamas? What do you call yourself? I call myself Rocky. Me llamo Rocky. But you can also say, mi nombre es Rocky. All right, so if somebody says, ¿cuál es tu nombre? That's the same way as saying, what is your name? Now, again, the most common thing Spanish people will say is, ¿Cómo te llamas? So don't overthink this, but there are other ways to say it, and you might hear other people say, mi nombre es so-and-so. Now, another way to introduce yourself with your name is you could just say, yo soy. So I am, then state your name. So I don't know if you've ever seen Narcos, but there's a popular scene in Narcos, the scene of plata o plomo. But in that scene, Pablo says, yo soy Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. Yo voy a ser presidente de la República de Colombia. I think that's what he says. But I know he introduces himself as yo soy Pablo. So you can introduce yourself as yo soy, and you can state your name. So that's another easy way. So that's probably the best. All right, so this is how I would phrase it. If somebody asks you, ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? You could say, me llamo, whatever. Now, if you're just introducing yourself to somebody, you could say me llamo, but you could also say, hola, buenos días, yo soy, in your name. Mi nombre es is probably the least common one I would use, or that you'll probably hear. Most people will either say me llamo, or they will say yo soy so-and-so. So those are 3 ways. So we have 4 ice-breaking words, and then we have 3 introductions that can help you have some kind of variation, some versatility to your Spanish, and it can make you seem, like you know more. Because I say, if I say what's up to this guy, hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Rocky. And then this other guy comes like, oh, hey, yo soy Rocky, ¿cómo te llamas? So those are just different ways to introduce yourself. And then the next thing we will get into is ask somebody how they are doing. So we won't always have to say our names, because a lot of times conversation is quick convo. They don't need to know our name. We don't need to know their name. But you can say, how are you doing? Like if I'm at the store with the store clerk and I'm checking out my groceries, I won't necessarily say, hey, my name is this. What's your name? Which, ¿Cómo te llamas? I think I didn't really cover that fully, but I did cover the word. So if you want to ask somebody what their name is, just say, ¿Cómo te llamas? What's your name? ¿Cómo te llamas? That's the best way. But the next thing is, if you're at the store, like I was saying, and somebody says, hey, how are you doing? You say, hey, how are you doing? You don't necessarily need to tell them your name, or you don't have to ask them their name. But you do need to know how to say, how are you doing today? So, how are you doing? Simple, ¿Cómo estás? Or how are you doing today? ¿Cómo estás hoy? All right, how are you doing today? That's the informal way, ¿Cómo estás? Now, if you want to have the more formal way, you could say, ¿Cómo está usted? So that is the formal way. We know usted is formal. In the tú form, ¿Cómo estás? That is the more informal way. So, ¿Cómo estás? And that's pretty much how you're doing. So if they say, bien, ¿y tú? Or somebody asks you, ¿Cómo estás? Bien means I'm doing well. ¿Y tú? And you? Bien. ¿Y tú? Or bien, muchas gracias. Thank you. Well, thank you. ¿Y tú? ¿Cómo estás hoy? So that's pretty much, those are the basic introductions to somebody. Or another thing that you will need is, if you're actually introducing yourself with a name and somebody introduces their name, a great thing to be able to say would be, mucho gusto, very nice to meet you. So if somebody says mucho gusto to you, that means very nice to meet you. A lot of times you'll shake hands. Hola, yo soy Rocky. ¿Cómo te llamas? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, mucho gusto, mucho gusto. And then you shake hands. If they say mucho gusto, you could say mucho gusto back. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Or you could say igualmente, which means pretty much, same thing. Back to you or whatever. So those are the basic ways to introduce yourself. Don't overthink it. I did give you some multiple options so that you had them in your bag, more so that you can understand when other people greet you. I would pick one greeting at first and master it, but just know that there are other ways people can introduce themselves to you. So that's why I want to teach you the mi nombre es or yo soy, and also the other stuff like cómo está usted, and things like that. But for the most part, pick a ice-breaking word, hola, then pick a name, introduction word, me llamo, or phrase, me llamo, then your name. And then from there, ¿cómo estás? Mucho gusto. ¿Cómo te llamas? So just study those basic words and phrases. And the best way is really think about just how you introduce yourself to somebody you just meet for the first time in English. If you're having trouble with the Spanish way, don't overthink it. Just think, okay, if I go, think about the different situations you're going to be in. So if okay, I'm going to a foreign country, I'm going to be buying groceries. What is the Spanish I'm going to need to know? First thing is, of course, you'll need to know kind of the groceries you're going to get. But then it's like, okay, when I start interacting with people, let's say checking out, what are they going to say? When I get in line, they're probably going to say, hola, ¿cómo estás? Hola, buenos días. Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Cómo estás? So you'll just have to know how to reply and stuff to those type of words. Now, let's say you are going to your Airbnb or something, and you're going to meet the host of the Airbnb, then you'll probably need a little more words than just hola, ¿cómo estás? Then you'll probably need hola, yo soy so-and-so, mucho gusto, nice to meet you, ¿cómo está hoy? And then from there, think about the other things you would say to somebody you meet at Airbnb in an English-speaking country, some other words. I hope today's video was helpful. If it was, and if you're looking to take your Spanish to the next level, you're looking to learn to speak and comprehend Spanish faster, then I highly recommend you get our free Lost in Translation training. I'll put the link in the comments for you. I'll pin it there. And that's going to be a free training series that will help you speak and comprehend Spanish much better, much faster. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by hitting the thumbs up. Comment below. Let me know what else it is that you want me to talk about. Anything I can help you with, I'm here for you. Last but not least, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, Speak Spanish Faster. Until next time, I will see you then.